Welcome to Social Chatter, episode 121. I'm Nick Rishwain, here with founder and the lead social chef, Christian Karasevich.
Hey, everyone.
Christian, I'm back. I'm better. I have improved. The voice has improved. So I'm happy to be back. And we got a fairly quick show tonight, 4 stories that we want to cover with everybody. We're happy to have returning guest JoAnn Krall with us. Again, she's always got great input. Sarah Stahl says she's going to be here tonight. And looks like we have Bernard Nomberg and JoAnn watching right now on Facebook. So any updates that we need to know about social chefs before we bring JoAnn in and get started?
One thing we are working on, we're working on doing some webinar Wednesdays. I think we're going to try to do like a weekly tutorial on something, on a topic. It might be, like, for example, people that want to learn about like Instagram bio links. We might talk, do a quick show about that. But that's something we're working on, hoping to launch that next few weeks.
Excellent.
But yeah, so
Excellent.
It should be a lot of fun.
All right.
Yes.
And shall we bring JoAnn in and tell everybody about her for those who don't know her?
Definitely. Let's do that. Let me get JoAnn in there.
All right. I'm watching over on Facebook, so I'll wait until I hear her.
Welcome, JoAnn.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, JoAnn. Welcome back to Social Chatter. Can you hear me clearly?
Glad to be back. I am. I almost had a coughing fit before I came in.
Very happy to have you back. JoAnn's a friend of mine. JoAnn is the Sensible Organizer, and she can be found at JoAnnKrall.com. Is that still correct, JoAnn?
It is still correct, yes.
Still correct. Former accountant turned organizer is how I remember you. What's new in the sensible organizing space these days?
Just still plugging along. I took my business all online. I think we talked about that last time because I think it was within that year. So I'm still trying to rebuild. It almost feels like starting over.
Yeah, that's right. You were entirely online. I forgot that's you. We did talk about that last time you were on.
Yep.
Christian, any input, or you want me to jump right into our? We've got about 4 stories for folks tonight. You want me to jump right in and get some input from you and JoAnn as we go?
Just one quick question, I guess, for JoAnn. Like, I think people have a lot of trouble getting themselves organized. Like, if I'm like either a social media manager or maybe I'm, trying to run my own business, like, do you have a couple of tips real quick for people that they could use to get organized?
Good idea.
Like some of the things you notice from people, and then maybe some of the things that they should, try to work on.
But the biggest thing is decluttering. I talk about that all the time, whether it's your physical space, but mainly in the business world, it's, everybody has 100 different ideas and they want to implement them all at once, and you can't do that. So it's getting rid of the stuff that you can't do right away. You don't have to get rid of it completely, but like kind of tucking it away for a later time. If you're on like 10 different social media platforms and it's stressful for you, you're not going to be effective. So it's really focusing on, reducing to a number that works for you. Some people say just 2, but, someone could do 6 and it could be fine for them. But I find that people are just like, I got to be everywhere. I have to be everywhere, which is true. You should be everywhere, but it doesn't mean you need to be active everywhere.
I think that's great input, because especially if people are new to the social media environment, it can be really overwhelming if you try and take on every platform.
Absolutely.
Christian, with that, speaking of taking on every platform or combining every platform, our first story is something that Instagram is testing. This came from TechCrunch last week. Instagram tests letting users post stories directly to WhatsApp. So last October, Facebook extended the usage and flexibility of Instagram stories, which was, of course, the Snapchat ripoff. They tested that feature, letting you patch together photos and videos into a slideshow by making it easy to directly post a story to Facebook. Now, Facebook is looking at how to bring WhatsApp into the fold. So TechCrunch has learned and confirmed that the company is now running a test to let users post their Instagram stories directly into WhatsApp. In what they're calling a WhatsApp status, a corresponding Snapchat-like feature in the WhatsApp platform, where decorated photos, videos, and GIFs can be posted with encryption, disappearing after 24 hours. An Instagram story posted as a WhatsApp status also becomes encrypted like the rest of WhatsApp. That's essentially it. They're testing this in Brazil. That's where it was discovered, but that is essentially the story. So what I found really interesting about this is, so now you can post your Instagram story to Instagram stories. Facebook, I don't even remember what it's called. We'll just call it stories. And now WhatsApp status, which is WhatsApp stories. So, JoAnn, what are your thoughts on this? You and I are certainly more active users of Snapchat stories than we are of Instagram. I think you may do some more Instagram stories than I do, but I don't do a heck of a lot there, and I'm certainly not posting to Facebook and or WhatsApp. So what are your thoughts on this?
So yeah, I use Instagram stories once in a blue moon. I never watch Instagram stories. I don't know how WhatsApp is going to look, but the way with Instagram, with that horizontal feed, I can't do it. It's not in my nature to scroll that way. It's, because of Snapchat, but I think just in our nature, we scroll up and down on a phone. We don't scroll side to side. So for me, so I don't know how WhatsApp is going to look, if it's going to be very similar to Messenger Day. Does that even exist anymore?
I think it does. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Which was a horizontal scroll. And I don't even have the option to take my Instagram to Facebook yet. I have not been given that. And I don't know if it's because my Facebook is a business page. I don't even know if they've rolled that out. But
yeah, they've been playing it very tight with like letting you do any sharing of like Instagram to Facebook. It worked at one time and then it stopped working. Okay. So and then there's not really any third-party features that can let you like tie in. They started basically revoking access. But by the way, I am dropping a link in here in the chat to the larger picture of what Instagram stories would look like on WhatsApp. And
while you do that, I'm going to go ahead and thank people for being here. Desmond Herbert, Kim Fleck, Sarah Stahl's here, Morris Lilienthal's here, Bernard Nomberg's here. Thank you all for joining tonight. Christian, you're out of the United States at the present time, and you are using WhatsApp a lot more. Is this something? Have you started testing the Instagram to WhatsApp? Have you had that feature yet, or is it still only in? It seems like they're testing in Brazil. I thought possibly you were getting it as well.
Yeah, I don't have it yet, but I will say, where I'm at, WhatsApp is basically how people are communicating. I like the fact though that, I think we talked about this a few months ago on the show, how they had expanded, the languages that were available within WhatsApp to I think they had Farsi and Arabic and a couple other ones. So that should actually help up the usage of the number of people that are using Instagram at that point. But here, WhatsApp's huge here. So I think this is a really good, a no-brainer move by Instagram. I think everybody needs to remember it. Instagram, like Facebook, really hasn't even tapped into building out Instagram or WhatsApp. They've got the Facebook platform essentially built, and the other ones, there's so much more they can do with them. So I think they're being very cautious with that because they don't want to alienate the user base. And I do want to say, Kim Fleck, who's joining us tonight, so this will be awesome for people who market worldwide. That's my thinking with, being able to share Instagram stories on WhatsApp. People who don't know their audience, or don't have their audience on Instagram yet, because maybe it's not there yet. They can start to see WhatsApp, this information in WhatsApp. This way they don't have to be like, well, hey, let me go check Instagram, let me go check Facebook, let me go check WhatsApp and see what's going on. So I think there's a really good business use case here. And by the way, the
business use case is definitely the case that I would be interested in viewing. The case I'm not interested in viewing is seeing the same story. Christian and I are friends. I don't want to go to Christian and see the same story on his Facebook, on Messenger, on Instagram, and on WhatsApp, because then I know you're just spreading the same content across. You're basically syndicating content, and I'm probably not going to go and follow you on every one of those to check what your story is. But it will, the content will get old real fast if people are doing it that way.
And that's going to be a very slippery slope, I think, for people, because you have to figure out how to be a good storyteller across all of the different platforms. And it's not, as Nick mentioned, like do the same content on Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp and Snapchat. Like they'll do the same information, but right. You have to be able to tell a story on each one. So
agreed. And that'll move us right into the second story tonight, which also comes from TechCrunch. And now this one just was posted yesterday. What is Snapchat now that story sharing has stopped growing? So is there a connection here between Facebook having the story feature across all of their multiple platforms and now Snapchat stories seeming to grow? In a betrayal of loyalty, signaling poor morale, a massive dump of Snapchat's usage stats has leaked. The most worrisome is that the number of users posting stories has shown zero growth, and even worse performance than Snapchat's total user growth that was sluggish this year. It appears Instagram Stories clone has stopped Snapchat's most monetizable feature dead in its tracks. This explains why Snapchat's redesign moves friends' stories into the chat inbox, since visual messaging on the app is growing slightly faster than total users. Messaging is tough to interrupt with ads without being annoying, so combining messages and stories might be Snap's best shot at reinvigorating revenue. I think the idea here, Christian, I don't want to get into, they do a lot more on the metrics and stuff in this story. Yeah. But I think the big story is essentially the headline there. What is Snapchat doing if their stories aren't growing, which was kind of their defining feature that was then stolen for all intents and purposes, or copied and pushed out across all of Facebook's assets. JoAnn, what are your thoughts on this? Have you noticed the slowing of stories in the groups that we participate in? Do you notice any of our similar friends easing up on their stories?
No, I felt that big drop when Instagram stories came. A lot of people left. Interestingly enough, I see a lot of those people coming back to Snapchat. I haven't seen the number of stories that I try to get through on a daily basis, or the number of people viewing, has not changed in the past 6 months. It's been pretty stable. Mm-hmm. I know that, I'm sure all these stats are based on all the business people that have just departed the app. I can't say that the younger, demographic has abandoned and isn't growing. I'd really have to look at it to see, like, what are the age ranges? Is that in that article? Because I didn't even peek at that.
I'll view it real quick while you're commenting.
Instagram. I mean, Snapchat is still very tight and private, and that's kind of what the younger demographic likes. And I know that Instagram stories, they're starting to use them a little bit more, but it's still mostly marketers just kind of putting their stuff on the top. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. And Facebook stories, I still have people going, why are you at the top of my Facebook feed? Because I'm the only person there with certain people. They don't follow anybody else that would, would put something out there.
That's right. It's those who are pretty much active in this space. Christian, what are your thoughts on Snapchat? And what is this? I mean, for a business, we've been cautious for telling businesses to go over and do Snapchat. I don't do it for the business I run. We have a Snapchat account, but we've found that it may not be the best way to, the disappearing content isn't exactly what you want in business necessarily, I guess, depending on the business you're in. So I'm over there mostly personally. What do you think? What are your thoughts on this? Their failure, their stories being stuck in a rut and not growing.
So it's actually really interesting. They actually have stagnant user growth, but I mean, they're also getting people to spend more time on Snapchat, which is interesting. So in a way, they're getting people to give them their time. to use Snapchat, but then this data leaked, and people are now they're not obviously like using stories, or they're posting them, but people aren't actually it's not necessarily getting viewed as much. So it's about the same as what it was before. So I think from I think overall, I mean, I still love all the stuff that Snapchat is doing. I just think they're kind of running into what Twitter is running into, which is how do we monetize? Like they want, they're having just overall like a really hard time being able to get people like, advertisers want to see user growth. They want to know, they want to see user growth. They want to see the amount of time people spend there. Businesses want to see, that people are active. I think right now, I think some of this might be due to the redesign of Snapchat, but I think, still like they have some great technology stuff that, Facebook can take all the other features. They just can't take the technology from them. In that case, the augmented reality, the ability, like I see a lot of really strong brands on there, like a lot of entertainment businesses, being on Snapchat, and they're doing, they're creating some pretty amazing content that's there that, is very different from what people are seeing on Facebook. So I think Snapchat needs to continue to forge ahead. I think this does present a little bit of a challenge for them. People aren't watching their stories. Well, hey, why do people want to post them then? That's essentially what Facebook is doing, which is, pushing Facebook stories, which people aren't using, pushing Instagram stories, pushing WhatsApp, now pushing Instagram to WhatsApp. So I think that, yeah.
Go ahead. No, I feel like Snapchat, I don't even know why they would bother with ads when they can just monetize so much with, like you say, those lenses and those geo filters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine that they don't get a ton of money from those. I mean, people love them,
I think that is pure laziness, JoAnn. Christian and I talked about this just last week. I think it's Chris Behrman's feeling. I think he's the one who put the idea in my head that I think that's laziness on the behalf of the advertiser. They want to do the captive audience thing. It's easy. Let's put 10-second video clip together and have it run at the end of a story. Yeah. Well, we're tapping out of that. But if you come up with some creative lenses and creative filters, the one that sticks in my head, which I thought was just goofy and kind of annoying, but I still remember it, was when Bank of America did the llama or camel or whatever they did.
Yeah.
And that thing went nuts. And why are the advertisers not spending their money there and letting people interact with their logos? Then instead they want to put these commercials at the end of the story. Well, the commercial, I think advertisers I think they're behind the times on people don't want commercials, and advertisers have not figured out how to change their marketing.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's a really viral 10 seconds. I mean, they could be doing that too. It's crazy. Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I mean, and that's a great point that you make. I mean, that like everything else is changing. Like the technology is just changing so quickly. I mean, every single day. I mean, that's why we do this show every week. It's, there's a lot that people have to keep up with, but yet, they're wanting us to do other things, but yet they're still kind of sticking to the same old model. I mean, the captive audience, they want a captive audience. Well, the audience doesn't want to be captive, and they're going to go other places. So if they're going to go other places, think of fun ways to engage them. I think that's where we're at this point. And we got some really great questions here. Kem's asking, are they really going to make us watch 3-second ads now without being able to tap through? Like that was a topic from last week. Yeah, I mean, that's what Snapchat's pushing because they're a publicly traded company. They've got to generate revenue for their shareholders. And at the same time, the only way they're going to do that is to force people to have to watch some ads because the businesses want numbers for the amount of money they're giving somebody. That's right. So,
and Morgan Harrell, who's also here, she says, how about some creative stories by brands? They're still falling really short there.
Absolutely.
You could do some they started a lot with the behind the scenes, and that gets old real fast because how many times when they show somebody my office or my work environment, that's going to get old. But they could do some storytelling that could be a lot of fun. Especially if you have a lot of people working for you, you have the freedom to go out in the community and do things. I think Morgan makes a really good point there. Mm-hmm. Anyway, let's get on. Go ahead.
By the way, I was going to say, for people that want to tell stories here, do they need to what do we think they need to do? Like, do they need to be do they need to like have a better strategy? Maybe do we think that they need to be like planning their content out a little bit better? Like, what do we think what do we think the holdup is on that?
Probably, what people forget to do is to study how to do storytelling. Like I think a little bit of research on how to tell a good story for any brand would be able to, and somebody who's willing to take a little bit of risk in telling a story. I think that's one thing, but I think there's probably an issue with the brands not wanting to give people the freedom to go out and tell a story.
And by the way,
if people control the narrative, and so you get stuck with these inauthentic commercials.
Right. And I will say, people that want to, like, if you want to learn like storytelling, very easy place you can look. Go watch movies. Watch a really good movie series, for instance. Like, like you go watch like a trilogy, for instance, of any sort of movie series, and look at, like, hey, you know what? When they started this, they had an idea and they planned out like what that was going to be, and like they work ahead on movies. So like maybe you want to try to get your business thinking ahead as well. I realize you can't say, hey, the technology is like changing. Oh, it changed after we did this. But you know what? If you have the premise of like, this could be part 1, part 2, part 3, or whatever, you can always make a little bit of an adjustment to it. It doesn't change the story that much. So think of it like that.
Right.
And if you're doing it on Snapchat, it's going to be gone in 24 hours. So, take some risks. Our next story up is a Mark Zuckerberg story. So this is how closely I've paid attention to Mark Zuckerberg. Is I had no idea that he's been doing these personal challenges every year for the last 9 years. So basically his personal challenge, every year he takes on a personal challenge. We're running 365 miles. He built an AI for his home. He read 25 books. He started doing it in 2009. His personal challenge for 2018 is to focus on fixing. He says, the world feels anxious and divided, and Facebook has a lot of work to do. Whether it's protecting our community from abuse and hate, defending against interference by nation states, or making sure that time spent on Facebook, is time well spent. My personal challenge for 2018 is to focus on fixing these important issues. We won't prevent all mistakes or abuse, but we currently make too many errors enforcing our policies and preventing misuse of our tools. If we're successful this year, then we'll end 2018 on a much better trajectory. So this goes hand in hand with a few things that we've been, and he says a lot, but it's essentially repetitive. This goes hand in hand with, they've come under a lot of critiques for fake news promotion, and then there's a report that came out, and I think it was in a medical journal last week, saying that that time spent on Facebook has been bad for people. It is actually making that bad for mental health. It's making them feel worse about themselves when they're actually just scrolling. As I recall the article, it was while you're scrolling through and liking or interacting, that actually led to less or a decrease in mental health or happiness. And if you're actually engaging with people on Facebook, it actually led to an increase. So they've had a lot of bad press, and so I think that his goal here is to improve the experience for his users and for the advertisers. And he's not a young guy. He's not just a young kid anymore building a $1 billion business. He's starting to see some of the impact his business has on society. And so I think he's taken a little bit different look here. So how do we make a ton of money still, but also not get the government to regulate us and actually have our users want to spend time here? What are your thoughts, JoAnn?
It's funny. Right before I came on, I saw a post by Sarah Stahl about how he wants, Facebook to be all about relationships. And I laughed because I'm like, he clearly just finished Chelsea's book, because And I actually was talking to somebody else. I think I was talking to Cammie today. He was saying something about Snapchat and all this stuff. And if that happens, and I said, I really hope that doesn't happen, because I really look at Snapchat as a happy place. I mean, you connect with people. It's all about connections. And I'll be really interested to see how Facebook pulls that off. It used to be that way back in whatever, 2007, 2008, 2009. It was all about connecting. It's really, now it's just people posting videos, or, every maybe 10 posts is somebody putting something out there as a discussion, but it's really, it's just a lot
and
of
many of those discussion posts, in my experience, are forced discussion posts to create engagement.
Yes, that too.
Not really, we're not really doing anything great with this piece. I'm just asking a question so people will be commenting.
Yeah. I mean, I spend most of my time now on Facebook in groups that I want to be in, that I want to be with, people. And so that's the concept. It's same as Snapchat. Snapchat's like one big group for the most part.
Christian, what are your thoughts on this? On Zuck's personal?
I think from a business perspective, this is going to be really good for businesses that have said, well, hey, I don't like the fact that people aren't seeing my content. They don't like the fact that news, that fake news is kind of, creeping into all of this, that people are gaming the system. I really actually do hope Facebook does make some adjustments to improve that. And I think it's good that they're realizing this, because the problem that most businesses run into when you get this large is you stagnate. You get there and then all of a sudden, you just do the same thing, and, your business model slowly just loses its momentum. So I think this is a really good move by Zuckerberg. And I actually like the fact that this is going to play into our last story for the show for this week, because these are things that Facebook is doing that I think, or that hopefully should help fix a lot of this. A lot of, the preconceived notions that people have about Facebook. So I'm looking forward to.
You're hopeful on this, and you certainly have a better experience with Facebook and Facebook advertising than I do. I think it's, it's not a platform I enjoy being on. I do enjoy Messenger for the ease of use. I just was doing something with both Bernard and Mo this week, where rather than sending them email, I shoot them a couple of messages on Messenger, but and I'm with you, JoAnn. Most of my time is spent communicating with Mo and Bernard and other folks in Legal Minds group that we're in, and the Maximum Lawyer podcast group. And so that's where my time is going to be spent, because I'm really using it for business, not for the personal aspects. So if I'm doing the real personal interactions with people, it's happening on Snapchat these days, which is interesting to me. Our last story for the evening, then we're going to get to some tools, is Facebook diving into the home device market with a video chat product named Portal. Facebook, and this came out this week, and this is from cheddar.com. Facebook's about to jump into the consumer hardware business in a big way with a video chat device named Portal, which will put it in direct competition with Amazon's hugely popular line of Echo voice-controlled devices. The device is designed to work in the home and represents Facebook's first serious foray into selling consumer hardware. People familiar with the matter said, rather than position the device as a smart assistant akin to Amazon's Echo, Facebook intends to pitch Portal as a way for families and friends to stay connected through video chatting and other social features. Facebook plans a formal product introduction in early May at its annual developer conference and hopes to ship the device in the second half of 2018. So this is, we were talking about this in a group that I participate in on Tuesday and Thursday. We were talking about voice control, voice search and those things with Amazon. I know Microsoft has the Cortana, Google Home, Amazon Echo, and Christian, you said Apple had one, and I don't even remember what the one Apple had was called.
They got the HomePod, and then Facebook has their own. Voice assistant as well.
Okay.
So
okay. So this is something that everybody's. The one thing that makes me laugh when I hear that they're doing this is I've been seeing across all sorts of memes about I love when I've never mentioned something to anybody, yet I start getting ads about from on Facebook about something that I've been thinking about recently. This is one of those things. Do people want to let Facebook into their homes again? I think is that there's a lot of talk about Facebook. People suggesting that Facebook is listening to their conversations through the mics. Yeah, they're listening to our whispers and reading our thoughts. So I'm wondering, will people be willing to have Facebook portal in their home? And it seems like almost like the old school intercoms, but video version of the intercoms in the home. Sounds like how they want to use it. JoAnn, what are your thoughts on this?
I was going to ask that. Is that what they're talking about, like communicating from like room to room, or is it more like they want to be like Skype or FaceTime? Is that
I read it as room to room or or like FaceTime.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I just feel like
what they're also. I was going to say to add to this, so you can kind of compose a thought here on this. The other thing they're trying to do is they're trying to use facial recognition as well in this. With this to be able to tell you who's in the room essentially. Mm-hmm. So basically automate, or use artificial intelligence in a way to be able to figure out a lot of this stuff. So,
I was on a live with Danica and her son popped in for 3 seconds to say hello. Maybe 2 seconds later, would you like to invite? And her son's name to the broadcast. I mean, it was just, she went like, that's creepy. So I think they're already using it, in their lives.
They may be using it.
Yeah.
Is this something? Do you have one of the Echoes or any of that in your home, JoAnn?
I do not. No,
yeah,
I have no desire, no need for it. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like a waste to me. I just don't. I mean, we don't have a smart home, obviously. If we did, maybe that would be a different story. But
right, we have Mo. We have Mitch Jackson's a huge proponent. Well, not a huge proponent, but he's really looking into the voice control quite seriously, and we were talking about that pretty heavily this week. Christian, what about you? Do you have one of these voice control, voice search home devices?
I do. I have a couple of them, but they're all unplugged actually now. So, well, part of that's also obviously I'm on a different voltage system. I'm on a different voltage system. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So I do have them. I find them useful for certain things, but I also know that hey, if I'm going to have a conversation, let's not do it in this room that this device is in. Again, I mean, because you don't know what's listening to you. I mean, but do I think that here's the thing. I actually like the idea that Facebook is actually going to come out with a piece of hardware. I like the fact that they're going to do this because, one, they're saying hey, we're going to price this at $4.99. Apparently Zuckerberg doesn't care if they lose money on it, which makes a lot of sense. A lot of these products are like loss leaders where they, they lose money to get users in there. I think at the same time, one thing you just mentioned, JoAnn, the fact that it can actually pick up somebody that, in this case, they might be testing a feature now, picking up somebody during a live video. I think that's actually a good move because what is one of Facebook's biggest problems? One of their biggest problems is that they have a lot of users on there that are fake users or people that are using fake names or whatever else.
Yeah.
And as much as they want to kick them off, that, doesn't always happen. So I think that if this device can conceivably also pick up people that are, that are on Facebook, maybe it'll tell you who your real profile is. And that actually on the back end might help Facebook see that, well, you know what? Hey, there's 3 other accounts with this person. Let's kill these other ones, let's shut them down. I think that actually can help possibly improve the Facebook user experience for users because, they're actually dealing with, a real person. I'd love to, for instance, have a Facebook page and be able to, kick, maybe you do ability to do group chat or something with this, which that obviously could be really, maybe the next feature. But have the ability then to say, well, hey, who are these people on my page? This is the fake account. Let me block that, have some sort of tools that will help me clean up parts of my, Facebook page in this case. So I know that's down the road, but that's the part that I think I'm most excited about.
Very cool. And now it's time for some tools. Christian,
And then Morgan mentioned maybe they should make some Facebook glasses. Yeah, that could possibly happen.
I'm expecting that. I saw somebody else released a new at CES this week. Somebody released a new pair of spectacle-like glasses. I can't think of who it was right now. I will find it while we're talking. While you're doing tools, Christian.
And so I'm gonna share the links here in the comments for everybody. I'll talk about these tools real quick. The screen sharing feature of BeLive doesn't seem to be working today, but you take the good with the bad here. So service has been fantastic. So let's jump into some tools. So tool one is Adobe Premiere Clip, and I know you're probably like, hey, I've got tons of video editing and tons of video editing apps on my mobile device, but this is made by Adobe. Adobe makes Adobe CC as well, which is their like creative cloud feature. And so what this is, it's a way for you to be able to create videos and edit them and obviously share them from your mobile device, but you're getting the added benefit of Adobe Premiere Clip. So Adobe Premiere Clip is, it's a powerhouse tool. It's one of those that, like it doesn't just like give you some basic features and make you pay for it. What it does is it can do the whole round trip thing. So it will let you make your edits and whatnot on your mobile device. But if you are using Adobe Premiere Pro CC, their creative cloud feature, you could take your apps, your videos you edit and put them into Adobe Premiere and make additional updates to it, add some amazing features that you don't have on a mobile device. Adobe Premiere is an industry leader from a video editing application. So that's essentially the app. It's a free app. If you want the Creative Cloud, I think that's like $20 to $40 a month, something like that. But great tool to be using, and it actually can replace a lot of your other ones. Yeah. Yeah.
Kim Flex says great tool. Kim, have you used this tool? Let us know in the comments. JoAnn, have you used this?
I have not. I'll have to ask my daughter. She has the Creative Cloud, but I don't know if she does anything on her phone.
I was gonna say, what is everybody like? If you do video editing from your mobile device, what app do you use right now? Or do you
I'm not doing any video editing from my phone.
Send that to my producer. Yeah.
And is that your daughter, JoAnn?
Yes, and Cami.
And Cami, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I don't edit anything.
So I will say, just to help everybody that's watching, like I use, for instance, like I have iMovie on there. I don't use that for a lot of editing, but I use it if I need to make a quick edit on things. If I want to make some additional edits, if you're an iOS user, the Photos app, now you can actually record your screen and you can actually go right into Photos and make your edits really quickly there and add some enhancements. But I use Adobe Premiere Clip here. I use that, and I also use Video Shop as well, as Desmond mentioned. Both great tools. Just they're very easy to use and they actually work versus I'm waiting on like a developer to make an update or something. So it's they roll it out right. So that's tool one for everybody this week.
Excellent. And what else have we got?
So tool number 2 is called Viral Content Bee. Let me get that in the links for everybody.
We're getting a lot of people commenting on the last one. Kim uses Video Shop, Wave, Ripple, Animoto. Desmond uses Video Shop. Chris Politano uses Power Director. So there's a lot of different comments here. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Christian, on our next item.
Oh, that's fine. And I would say, the key thing to remember about like choosing a video editing app, as like Kim mentioned, she's using a lot of different ones for different tasks. And that's the key thing to think about here. Like you don't need like on your laptop, you might use one video editing app or maybe two at the most to tie things together. But on your mobile device, you're going to have multiple apps that are going to conduct basically one task. And you might take it into, for instance, like Animoto if you want to do a quick little video animation. You might want to do Cut Story if you want to take your video and split it up. I think that goes into I think that's Instagram Stories. I think. So just keep that in mind versus like, hey, I'm learning one way to edit videos. It's also the storytelling aspect. So keep that in mind. But tool number 2, Viral Content Bee, and that is essentially a tool for helping you get your content in front of social media influencers. These are not just like, hey, let me get them in front of like, just random people here. They're people that, Viral Content Bee tries to vet before they actually like get your content out there and get it shared. There's quite a few tools that are similar to these. For example, like you might use a tool that will claim to like, hey, we'll get you, thousands of shares or whatever. Like their goal with Viral Content Bee is not to get you thousands of shares, but to get you in front of the right audience so that your content can stand on its own. You could build your campaigns through this, put your content in there that you really want to drive some traffic to, get it in front of the right audience. And then, they obviously use it to help you bring engaged people in versus like, hey, everybody's sharing this just because it was in a featured tool. So that's Viral Content Bee. And that one's based on a credit system. So you basically use it, you put your campaigns in there, they give you like 10 credits for free. And then obviously if you want to do more things, you need to buy some credits, which not a bad model. I mean, it's almost like the whole like arcade model, where you pay for, you buy tokens to be able to play a game to win tickets. In this case, it's, I want to get my content in front of some influencers. So that's Viral Content Bee for you.
Excellent. I like that. That is for viral to the right audience, not just viral for anybody to see. That's kind of interesting. I need to take a closer look at that. Did you try that one yet, Christian?
I have tried it, yeah, and it seems to work pretty well. I used it with a couple other ones I've used like Q as another tool sometimes, and like where they kind of differ is like with Q, you put your stuff in the site. What they'll do is like people will share it just like almost in an automated way, versus this way, it actually gets in front of people, and then they can make the decision on. This is kind of almost like Zest that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, Nick.
Yeah, that's right. A couple months probably. Yeah. Have you used this, JoAnn? Is this something you might look at?
I have not. I definitely want to take a peek at it. Yeah.
Are you doing blogging? Are you back to getting your blogs done? You did one in December, I remember.
Yeah, that's my goal, is to at least once a month blog. I mean, it would be ideal to do once a week, but I blogged years ago and I just stopped, and it was just a matter of it was the platforms, and you just get burnt out. So I'm kind of taking all the old blogs and rewriting them.
Excellent.
Updating them. Yeah.
So, JoAnn, please tell everybody, I want to thank you again for being on with us tonight. Thank you all to everybody, Chris, Kim, Desmond, Mo, Morgan. Gosh, we had a lot of people come through tonight. We really appreciate the support. I'm sure it is solely because JoAnn was here. JoAnn, please tell our community here where they can find you online, and I will go ahead and type it.
Yeah, thank you for having me again. Just JoAnnKrall.com, no E on JoAnn. And you can go there and you can find all my social media there as well.
All right.
Pretty much JoAnn Krall.
You're pretty much at JoAnn Krall everywhere, right?
Yep, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's a couple different ones. Yeah.
And if you're looking to get your life or your home or your office organized in the new year, reach out to JoAnn Krall. And Christian, any last items about next week's show? I think we will. I think we're being joined next week by Cami Sutra, are we not? Cameron Murray.
Yes, we're going to have Cameron Murray as our guest next week on Social Chatter, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we will have a blog post recap of this week's show out tomorrow for everybody. So, you can watch or you can read through the articles that we talked about as well. Or if you have additional questions, post them in the comments and we'll make sure to get back to them.
That's right. All right. Excellent. Thank you, everybody, for a good show tonight. Christian, thanks for covering for me for a couple of weeks. I appreciate it.
No worries. It's good to have you back.
Thanks for having me back. JoAnn, thanks again, and have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Night. Bye.